each equation by factoring. Remember, we did number 1 together, where we used the AC method. Now, I did have students asking me, why don't I use the AC method here? Well, remember, the AC method is giving me the what times what situation, right? But if there isn't a number here, what is this going to be if I use the AC method? It's just going to be 1 times 40, right? So I don't have to do that whole process because I don't have a coefficient here, right? So we did this one together. This is what your answer should have been for number 2. You have to rearrange, right? So I had to subtract 6x over here. What times what equals negative 40? What plus what equals negative 6? I get my 2 quantities. I set them equal to 0, right? So when I add 10 to this side, I get x is 10. When I subtract 4 over here, I get x is negative 4. So the quiz and the second study guide will have similar problems like it for questions 1 and 2. Okay, 3 and 4. We're taking square roots. So for number 3, we add 6 to both sides. Divide by 2, you get x squared equals 5. Square root both sides. X is positive or negative square root of 5. Right? And I think on the one of the copies of the study guide, I wrote the dates of the notes. Right? So those will be the same for the new study guide as well.
Wait, what are the notes from 3? Like what's the date?
I don't remember what I had written there because I wrote an answer key on a different one. 414? Oh, that's right. You have mine.
Yeah, Alex did it.
Okay. Okay. So then on number 4, similar process. I have to get rid of this negative 10. So I then have x minus 3 squared equals 16. I take the square root of both of these. So I'm going to be left with x minus 3 equals positive or negative 4, right? When I take the square root of this quantity, all I'm left with is one of them, not 2 of them. So then I add 3 to both sides right here. So 3 plus 4 is 7. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. How are we doing? Okay-ish? Okay. And then on the back, number 5 and 6 was quadratic formula, right? So you just put the numbers in there. And we got kind of ugly, negative 0.42 or about negative 1.58. Those would be my y-intercepts, or excuse me, my x-intercepts. Yes, ma'am?
Will there be like numbers like that on the test, or will it be like where it's even?
I don't have it done yet. I mean, I've done it, but not in the last year, so I don't remember.
Oh wait.
Just be prepared for ugly, and then be pleasantly surprised when it works out even. Okay.
I hate when it's ugly because I always do it.
So then number 6, again, quadratic formula. This time you do get square root of 81, so that's nice because that's just plus or minus 9. So then 1 plus 9 is 10. Over 4, I simplify to 5 over 2. 1 minus 9 is negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. Okay. So this word problem was a little bit different than what we had practiced, but we still have all the tools we need for it. So we have someone jumping off a diving board. Let's imagine what that would look like. I'm going to draw a picture, because sometimes if you can see what's happening, it's easier to understand the math you would do to solve it. Okay. So we have somebody, we have a diving board here. I'm going to draw some stick figures. Right, we have a diving board. Here's the pool. Everybody with me? Yeah, okay. So this little guy jumps up, right? So he's going up, and then he comes down off the diving board. So we have this little guy, right? Love and life. Okay, so the question is, he goes into the water. Okay, so the first question is, after how many seconds does Max reach the water? So if the water is my x-axis, I need to figure out what this x-intercept is. So I have to solve to find my x-intercepts. That's going to be the first question, right? So what I did there is I used the quadratic formula with the equation they gave us, that function h of x negative 16x squared plus 16x plus 12, right? You're not going to.
What?
You're not going to.
So how do you know like that? One of those negative
Right. So if you're trying to find how high he gets, that's when you would use opposite b over 2a, and that's what I thought they were asking yesterday. But then, of course, I sat down after school and I read it more carefully, and they're not asking that. They're asking, when does he reach the water? So if they're trying to find how long it takes him to get as high as he's going to go, or how high he went, that's when you use opposite b over 2a. That would give you the first.
Is that even going to be on the test? That was the only thing I was like confident.
Okay, I haven't looked at the test because it's been a year, right? So I can't answer that question, but I will look at it while you guys are working today and let you know. Okay, so then when I do that, I find that my x-intercepts are negative 1/2, which doesn't make sense, right? Because you can't be negative 1/2 out of the water. And you get x equals 1.5. So this is 1.5 seconds is when he hits the water. Okay, he goes up and he comes down. Right, when you jump on a diving board, you go up a little bit and then you come back down. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Unless you just like fall off. But that's not what they're saying happened to him. Okay? Right, up in a little diving board. Just diving board. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There he is. That looks better.
The opposite of b over 2a, trying to find the y-intercept.
If you're trying to find the highest point of when he jumped, that's the vertex. It's not the y-intercept. It's just the vertex of the parabola. That's when we do opposite b over 2a. Okay. If you're trying to find the height of how high he went, or if you're trying to find at what time was he at the highest point. But we're trying to find when did he land back in the water. So we need to find this right here. Yes?
I don't get how you got negative 1/2 to be 1.5.
I didn't. It's two different values. So when I add 32, I get 16 over negative 32, so I get negative 1/2. When I subtract 32, I get negative 48 over negative 32, which is positive 1.5. Yeah.
Wait, so then. Why would you use this quadratic formula?
Right. So because negative opposite b over 2a tells me, so this is the vertex, right? So this would be opposite b over 2a to get my x value. And then I put that back in to get my y value. But I wasn't trying to find the vertex. I was trying to find when does he actually hit the water, which on a parabola would be my x-intercept if the water is my 0, right? Yes.
So what if one of the solutions was 1.5 and like one of the other solutions was like 2.8? Then what would you do?
Well, it wouldn't be for this scenario.
So it'll always be 1, like that's the right one.
Yes. 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 Okay. The next part of this is after how many seconds was he 14 feet in the air? So this is when it gets a little wonky, okay? So just bear with me. Bear with me. So we know that he jumped up, right? So in theory, he is maybe at 14 feet here and at 14 feet here. So he can be 14 feet in the air 2 different times as he's going up and coming down. So that's why on this one, Addison, I have 2 positive values. Because what they're saying is at 0.14 seconds, he was at 14 feet. And at 0.85. Because remember, he doesn't land until 1.5 seconds. So he's going up, and so this could be where he's 14 seconds in the air, and then he's coming back down. And this could be where he's 14 feet in the air.
There will be 2 answers.
So that's why there would be 2 answers, because he hits it twice. he hits this 14-foot level, going up and coming down. Yeah? Right? If you jump in the air, like if you have, I don't know how high a normal vertical is, but if you jump in the air, what? I don't believe that. So anyway, let's pretend that's true. Well, at two different points, PK would be 30 inches in the air. 30 inches when he's getting up to his highest, and 30 inches when he's coming back down, right? You don't just jump up to 50. Right? Does everybody understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? It has to hit that height twice, okay? Once going up, once coming down. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me pass out the second study guide. On the second study guide, if you can at the top write study guide number 2. I forgot to put that on this study guide, so if you can write at the top number 2.
That wasn't me.
Why don't we all do the word problems together right now?
Yes.
Okay. Let's all do the word problem together. So just turn your paper over. Okay, guys, I want to work through this with you so then you can get to the other questions. All right, so we have somebody doing cliff diving, cliff jumping, whatever. Okay, people do crazy things when they're on vacations. This is the height of when he's jumping off of the cliff, right? So we know he's going to go up and then he's going to come down because when you jump, you go up, right? Jumping. He's not just falling. Okay, so this says, how long did it take for Jason to reach his maximum height? So this is where we need the vertex, right? Because we need to know how many seconds after he jumped did it take him to get up to his peak height. So this is where we'll do opposite B over 2A.
I feel like I won't know which one it is.
You have to look at the key words. Like that's why we're doing it. That's why I'm explaining. If they ask for maximum height, right? Highest point. How long did it take? You're looking for a vertex. This last question, he hit the water after how many seconds? So what am I going to need here? X-intercept, which is not the same as the x value of the vertex. This is the x-intercept. Right? Okay. Look, this is my x-intercept here for when this diving board situation happened. Draw another picture for you. So if we have somebody jumping off a cliff, here's the cliff, here's the water, right? It's the cliff. Here's the person not making a good life choice, okay? He's going to jump off the cliff and land into the water. So this is the vertex, so this will be the x and y. This is the time and height of his highest point. This down here is when he hits the water. This is my x-intercept of the parabola, right? So the first two questions are having to do with these two things. This is my vertex. And this last one, how long does it take him to land in the water? That's my x-intercept. Because this would be the water is my x-axis. Everybody with me? Yes. So maximum height, how long does it take to get to the maximum height? Vertex. How long before he reaches the water? X-intercept. let's go ahead and do the math here. See what happens. All right, so opposite b over 2a. So we've got negative 16 over 2 times 16 equals negative 16 over 32, which equals 1/2. So how long did it take for him to reach his maximum height? 1/2 second. So he jumped up for a half second.
Wouldn't it be negative 1/2?
So he went back in time.
Opposite of b over 2a. I'm going to guess that this is supposed to be a negative 16 and I just didn't put it in there. So we'll just pretend that that's supposed to be a negative 16. What is that noise?
Oh, it's like in the hallway. Oh, working on that.
Well, no. If a is negative, then you get the negative 32. Yep. Okay. So then, how do I find the highest point that he reached? What do I do? Eden. Yeah, so I'm going to put 1/2 in for each of these t values. Okay, so I'm going to show my work up here. So I've got negative 16 times 1/2 squared plus 16 times 1/2 plus 480. That's a very high cliff. Wow. Negative 16 times 1/4 plus 8 plus 480. So that's going to be negative 4 plus 8 plus 480 equals 484 feet. That sounds terrible. Okay. So now we got to figure out how long it takes him to actually fall down, like actually get to the water.
Oh my god.
Sounds terrifying, right? Okay, so we're going to do the work. I'm going to use this space up here just because I can't do the whole quadratic formula down here, right? So I'm going to get opposite of b, so that's going to be negative 16 plus or minus the square root of negative 16 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 480. Wowza. All divided by 2 times negative 16. That doesn't look like a 6.
Was that a 16 square?
Negative 16, yeah. Oh, that should just be 16. Yeah. 16 squared. So I'm going to get negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 256 plus, oh my gosh, I don't even know what this is going to be.
Is that 256?
Mm-hmm. So this actually works out to be negative 16 plus or minus the square root. Oops. of 30,976 divided by negative 32. Lucky for us, this has a perfect square.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Oh
Oh my gosh. Yes, please use your calculator on the test. No, no, you will not get any extra credit. No. So it's negative 16 plus or minus 176 over 32. So if I do 176, I get 160 divided by 32 negative. So I can get x equals 5 or excuse me, negative 5. Is that going to be my answer? No, why not? You can't have a negative time for doing something, right? Let's see here. X equals 6. So you get negative 5 or 6. So you get negative 5 or 6. So how many seconds?
6 seconds.
6 seconds. It's the longest 6 seconds of Jason's life.
We did all of that just for 6 seconds. I feel like we better watch people do it. Yeah, I think we better. Why don't we just go test it right now and tell us on this?
Okay, so that is done. You guys have 15 minutes now to work on the other problems. It's not, listen, let's clarify between difficult and time consuming, because I don't think it's super difficult math, it just takes a lot of time.
It's difficult without looking at your notes. Yeah.
You have your other study guide right in front of you. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I promise you'll be fine.